Well, hello, everybody. This is Pastor Wayne Moore, hosting Real People, Real Voices. Happy to be with you today. I have my producer with me, Curtis Baker, is with us today and filling in today. And hopefully we can have a great conversation today and share some things with you in the community. Give us a list of our sponsors.
Well, our sponsors today are Tamiko and Associates, Lavinia Summers Home of Funerals, and Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Castle and Crowley, Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and His Place Eatery.
Not
Fish
only
is good.
Yeah, not only that, but we want you to be able to connect with us on Facebook. Go to WHMB TV. We're right there waiting on you, giving you an opportunity to connect with us as we connect with you with pertinent information and pertinent material about what's going on in the faith-based community, not only in the faith-based community, but also in our local communities. And that's why we're here, to help people to understand that your voice means something right here on Real People, Real Voices.
And you mentioned YouTube. I'm not sure if you mentioned, but you can go on YouTube, on the WHMB YouTube site, and you can see every single Real People, Real Voices episode from the day we started.
Yes.
So if you missed any, go to YouTube and you can see every last one.
Yeah, so we have a great guest.
Great guest, Sabay Martin.
Sabay Martin, I consider her one of the great up-and-coming community servants, and so she's kind of got her hand in some of everything that's going to benefit the community, and that's why she's here today, sitting at the table with us, getting ready to go and talk about some things that are going to be so interesting to the city of Indianapolis.
I look forward to hearing what she has to say.
I look forward to it. So we'll be right back after these messages right here in Real People, Real Voices. Welcome back, everybody. We're right here at Real People, Real Voices with Miss Sabay Martin. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you, Pastor Moore?
Fine. I call you the lady with the platinum hair.
Well, thank you so much. It's nice to have a logo to go with what I do.
If people don't know, people need to really understand that you have been, since you've been back in Indianapolis, you're a native of Indianapolis, been gone for some time, but since you've been back, you have been extremely busy in community. And you deserve to be commended for that. And you and I have had some challenging events to take place as we work together, along with Dr. David Green and others throughout the community. But today we're here to talk about some things that are happening in the community that some people, even of authority, don't know how to respond. Mm-hmm. Because of what's going on in our communities today. We have a very bad law coming into fruition in July. We'll be talking about that real soon. But gun violence has been the order of the day, and I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with it. Mm-hmm. In the area in which you live, the Butler-Tarkington area. Tell us about that.
Well, recently we were called in to have a meeting, a community meeting, and the meeting was called by IMPD initially because of some incidents of gun displays and the extended clips that some young people tend to think are great for carrying around as the sign of, I guess, bravado. Mm-hmm. But those things became an issue when it started to happen and gunshots were fired in the park. Mm-hmm. When they called this meeting together, I saw community leaders that I've worked with before with IMPD sitting at the table, but then they charged us with helping the community. They did not want to, and I'm thankful that they said this, they did not want to end up having anyone shot because someone reached for a
police action
clip.
Shooting.
Exactly, and then they didn't want to expose a juvenile to being arrested. So they asked the community for their help. My question is, what does that look like?
Yeah. What does that look like in the community when the police are saying,
Exactly.
we don't want to commit police action shootings, nor do we want to put a person in the system. So they're asking you to be in collaboration with them, I guess, to put this in a position to where it can be handled in a way to where these issues will not exist. I think that's impossible.
It's almost like they put the cart before the horse. They
Yeah.
knew this law was coming, and they could see how it was going to be a horrible event that could take place in our neighborhood. And because they are juveniles, they feel like their hands are tied. And they've even said as much. But they want us to help. But no one was proactive when they saw this law coming down the pipe. Now it's here.
That has always been my constructive argument, was that we were very much aware of this issue taking place. And the issue is the July 1 constitutional carry, a permitless state now. We're one of 22, I believe now, and others are coming online. The data shows that permitless states are being very much prone to crime, more so now as a permitless state than they were when they were a state that had permits. But how do we handle it? I have always tried to get collaboration to be a part of the issue. The point is that sometimes collaboration does not always favor certain individuals, and so therefore if we cannot favor the collaboration, we don't want the collaboration.
We have collaborated with entities that are in the neighborhood, but their manner in addressing the issue is not always culturally correct, if you get what I'm saying. You can't transpose what you feel is the right answer to a situation where you need to have something more specific. You can't say these children are bad, but you don't know that they have sewage leaking on their cabinets because of the rental property that they live in is so poorly kept by the landlord that they're living in misery.
Right.
And so there's been a lot of focus on one home in particular, but the people that are addressing it are missing the point.
Right.
What brought this to a head for me was hearing that if a juvenile is caught with a gun after July 1st, that they go straight to adult court, that there's no juvenile intervention. And I would love to have the resources that you have to confirm that. But I have had that information given to me, and it's scary, it's frightening.
Yeah. We're entering a different level of things now. And I think when we look at this particular situation, we have failed community and law enforcement. We have failed one another. And the failing is that we are afraid to talk about the real issues that are going on.
Issues.
And whether it be with community or whether it be with law enforcement, we can no longer continue to create dog and pony shows, to have soft conversations about community and law enforcement. We have to talk about these hard conversations now because we're looking at the possibility of body counts. We're looking at body counts. And I think in many cases, body counts, more arrests, policing is going to be different. All of those things are going to take place. And yet, they want the community's help. And yet, how do we inform the community? We'll talk about that as we move on. But you got a great point. You got a great point. And I think that's important.
Well, let me ask a question,
Yes.
because with that said, and the new law that's in place where you don't have to have a permit,
It's not in place yet.
well, is it
July
July
1st.
1st?
Yeah.
So how are they enforcing that? How are they, when someone is stopped and they don't have a permit, how do you go to the next step? You know, because it's easy when you don't have a permit to go ahead and put you, let me call in on you and all these things, but hey, I don't have a permit. You don't have a permit. I can't go any further with you carrying a gun. You don't have a permit. So what's the crime now?
Well, you got to
What are you doing?
understand, let's just be honest about it and look at it just the way it is. Community has to be proactive. It's going to have to be proactive. And there's some information out there that we're going to bring to real people and real voices.
Right.
And an individual that is doing a great job with some information, we're going to share that. But I think in many cases what we need to understand that the community is going to have to be proactive because there has been a failure in collaboration about this whole issue. And we have to, this show, other shows, are going to have to educate the community to the best of our ability so that our community can remain safe, and these numbers that have a great possibility of increasing will not increase, the arrest numbers and homicide numbers. But we're going to come back in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about some other things, such as how to find ways and to explore other ways to get this done in our communities. We'll be right back after these messages. Thank you for being right back with us. We're right here with Sabea Martin talking about juvenile education as it relates to regarding gun violence. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but finding ways to inform the community. We talked about being proactive.
Right.
How do we do that? What does that look like? Because when we talk about being proactive, it's going to take both sides. Don't you agree with that? Law enforcement and community.
Absolutely. Not only will as you said, the body count go up, but the criminalization, and that's always been my mantra, the criminalization of our neighborhoods increases. When you have a juvenile that gets arrested that has an arrest, and that goes on their record, it changes their lives immediately. Not only that, if there is a conviction and it's a felony, it changes their life forever. And so that's a body count because it's no longer a productive person that we can count in our community. So it is very important to try to find ways to educate the parents and the children. And just simply in a meeting last night, that was a big part of the conversation, is how do we reach the parents?
Yeah. Well, and then not only that, how do we reach the parents, but how do we explore resources?
Exactly.
How do we explore resources while school is out?
Right.
School is out.
It's out.
School is out, and it's just the first real week of school being out, and a little bit more than that maybe, but at the same time, how do we address this activity of gun violence in community while school is out? Will youth jobs arrest that? Youth jobs only last 4 hours a day.
Right.
You know, there are so many who are not working, you know, a full 8 hours as it relates to a summer job. No, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I think that my friend, colleague, Dr. Green always talk about the gathering, the calling together. We have failed our communities. We don't want to hear that word failure as it relates to calling the community together, calling faith-based, calling entrepreneurs and philanthropists, politicians, appointed personalities to offices and areas of social justice, things of those. There needs to be an assembly of all of us to talk about this before we're late. We're very late, but before it becomes too late.
Too late. What I like about one of the things that Dr. Green says is that he calls on like-minded people.
Yeah, which is difficult in this city.
But it opens up the door for people who have like-minded thinking and not that hard word of unity, or, you know, we need to all have the same motive or step toward the solution. But if we have like-minded people that can come together and we have a plethora of ideas, we may be able to turn the boat.
What can we do to get our public officials involved? I mean, what kind of pressure, what can the average citizen do?
Well, the average citizen needs to understand right now that even political processes are being threatened. And And they have to understand their role in the process. Their role is not only voting now, but their role is vetting and voting, vetting and voting. For people, as you were talking about, who are interested, who are interested in the interests of the people.
Exactly.
For instance, when we see some things that are taking place on the state level, it's hard to find people who are interested in the interests of the people. And because there's some people who go in interested for the people, but they're converted into something totally different. Right. And then when they come out of their conversion, they find a place of safe campaigning through slatism.
Oh, wow.
And then they automatically become an incumbent one year, an incumbent another year, an incumbent another year. And so it makes it difficult for people who are like-minded, who have the interest of community, to get ahead in shifting that paradigm. Because we do need people that will rock the boat, because there is very little accountability, as you suggested. What does accountability look like to you, Sabea?
Accountability looks like being able to look the people that you represent in the face, knowing that you've taken their concerns to the highest authority that you could take them to, and you've made their argument. You understood the argument, as the saying goes, you understood the assignment, and you showed up. And we just don't have enough of those politicians available to listen to the people, to come out and talk to us. The March for Lives that showed up at Tarkington Park day before yesterday was quite a surprise, but that was a gathering of folks who thought they were like-minded, and there were politicians there, and we need them to be there for the entire community all the time.
Yeah. This cherry picking is also detrimental to community. And I think we need to put interest before cherry picking.
We do.
And if we can do that, because just because somebody does not agree with you about an issue does not mean that you don't show up to address the issue. And that's what happens in many cases. And so when we talk about the accountability piece, not only the accountability piece, but the candidates who have interest in community, you'll see some great shifts in those particular situations. The question is, what are you prepared to do now with in the Butler Tarkington area as a spokesperson? What are you prepared to do as it relates to the gun violence, as it relates to the interest of candidates having the interest of the people? What are you prepared to do?
We're interested, or we are planning to call people to the table that should be responsible. We are going to have meetings with our local city county council person to ask them why we can't count on them to be more representative of what the problem is, not to sit in the back of the room and listen to what everyone else has to say and then leave the room and we don't see anything in response. We're going to call in some of our older citizens that have been in the fight and in the battle for years, that have been residents of Butler Tarkington for years, to see what worked before, because we're still the same community. Things are a lot different. There are more challenges, but people still want answers, and they still want to know that somebody cares.
And for some time, we have heard that Butler Tarkington was a poster child for a said crime prevention group.
Sure.
But is that true today?
That we would know, because that group is no longer being honored in their efforts. I don't know that they are still walking in Butler Tarkington, but the criminalization of Butler Tarkington is convenient for the gentrification of Butler Tarkington, and we find that to be detrimental to finding answers for the Tarkington part of Butler Tarkington, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. Sabea Martin, thank you so much. for being with us here at Real People, Real Voices. We're going to
great.
have you back. Appreciate your insight.
Good to be home.
And,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll be right back with the rundown. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. We're here at the rundown, but before we give that rundown, let's hear from our sponsors.
Okay, our sponsors, Tamiko and Associates Realty Group, Lavinia and Summers Home of Funerals, Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Castle and Crawley, Owls Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and His Place Eatery.
Sabea did a great job.
Of course she did. She's a Broad Ripple graduate alumni with me. You know, we have great people that come out of Broad
Well, we
Ripple High
won't,
School.
will not demean her because of her high school. We will not do that. But I think in many cases, she's a citizen
She is.
that's in the heart of a community that is transitioning. And in the midst of transition, it seems like even law enforcement is lost on how to bring settledness and peace as it relates to minimal gun violence in that particular community.
And you wonder from the top, are they just ignoring this? What's their solution? Where, you know, they have to know this. It's like, let me throw it back to the community and let the community figure it out themselves. And is that what I'm seeing? Is that what's going on?
The community is not competent and qualified enough
Absolutely.
to handle law enforcement issues.
Right.
The community usually complains about law
Right.
enforcement issues. But at the same time, we need to understand that I said it earlier and I'll say it again. The community has failed law enforcement and law enforcement has failed the community as it relates to a hard line, effective collaboration.
Well, with that said, you know, we have to find a solution.
Yeah, there is some
Because-
solutions out there.
And I know this is going to be a long, hot summer.
Yeah.
Gas prices aren't going down. People are going to be stagnant. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I just pray that, you know, we get through it.
Yeah, we'll get through it. I don't know what the data will look like after we come through it, but we will get through it. But I still think that my colleague is right. There needs to be an assembly or gathering
Absolutely.
to where we can be able to throw some things out. You know, at least have a list of some things that we ought to be able to begin to deal with.
Okay. And with that said, we're going to end the show and glad everybody was here.
Yeah,
I'm Jeanette. See you later.
God bless y'all.